It says that we're streaming live, so I guess everything's groovy.
Yes. Okay.
So welcome everybody to the almost live, almost weekly Fast Freedom Formula live video. I'm Michael Harris.
I'm Tony Bowes.
And our friend James will not be joining us today. He has things of importance, whatever those may be. Okay, so I just thought we'd start out with something fun today. And of course, there's an airplane going overhead, so that should be fun. It'll be great for the video. So, Tony, let me ask you a question. What's your life story? You know, you could pick anywhere you want to start, you know, from birth to 3 minutes ago. But if you were going to tell someone...
If I start 3 minutes ago, that's going to be a shorter version, isn't it?
Exactly. But if you were going to tell your life story,
yep, what
would you tell them?
That's interesting, Michael, isn't it? Because we all have an autobiographical self, don't we? A narrative, a story. But that's often context dependent, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So we thread this sort of history together, weave it to create a sense of identity. Yeah. I was born in a place called Romford, which where you are, you're probably not too familiar with. Around this way in Essex, you probably would be. I grew up lots of sport when I was younger, so played lots of sport. Went fishing. I still love fishing now. Done okay at school, not too bad. Had fun. I mean, I did have fun. When I look back now, I enjoyed my younger days. I did, yeah. Mm-hmm. And then from there, yeah, I've done different things over the years, a few different careers, a few businesses. But then I got to a point in my life where probably about 20 years ago, where I started getting into self-development. And that self-development just took me to where I am now. Mm-hmm. So I trained as a homeopath. I trained as a Samaritan, obviously hypnotherapist, NLP practitioner. Because there was something within me that wanted to give and connect with people. So, yes, I'm a child, it was great. And I did have a little bit, let's say, a family history where there was a little bit of an addiction problem. Let's put it that way. So, yeah, so it led me to where I am now with a good self.
Outstanding. Okay. And the reason that we're doing this is, you know, you've heard me say this before, not everybody needs therapy. Not everybody needs coaching. Some people just kind of need a little organizational help, you know, to get them up and rolling. I've done well for them outcomes with people, and they're like, thanks. Off they go, never see them again, and never did a session with them. They just needed a little bit of organization. So one of the things that I do with my coaching clients and with my therapeutic clients is I always start out exactly the same thing that I did with you. It's like, what's your life story? And what you told me was, you know, where you're born, and you've had 3 careers, and you like fishing and stuff like that. But I'm going to ask you, just for fun, to change hats and put on another hat. And this hat is called the hero's journey. Kind of like Star Wars or Excalibur. Now what comes to mind when you start telling your life story?
Yeah, okay. Hero's journey. Yeah, I suppose it highlights the therapy that I do, definitely. Yeah, and there's probably a few little memories. And it's funny that a little memory, there's someone in my life that's had a really interesting hero's journey. That's not mine, but it's an overlap. And I take some inspiration from her. I mean, she was born, Herta her name was, and she was born in Austria just before the Second World War. Now, she actually saw Adolf Hitler come to her town when she was about 11 years old. After the war, because obviously, you know, luckily we won the war, that was all good, but she came over to the UK. But then she went backpacking all around the world. She learned to scuba dive in the 70s, parachute jumped. Now, that's the sort of inspiration I love. Someone I take on board their here as a hero to me has come out of such adversity. And you know, I feel that myself. But yeah, for myself, I think I try and help other people. That's what my hero journey is.
Cool. All right. Well, I'm going to ask you to change hats again.
Well,
Okay. And this time, I want you to tell your story from the perspective of rags to riches.
rags to riches. Right. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I've had moments where I haven't had a lot. Definitely. You know, when we had the I moved out when I was 23, 24, I think. I moved out of my parents' home. We got a house, but then we had a recession fairly quickly after that over here. So the late 80s, early 90s, we nearly lost the house then. And I had to scrape, absolutely scrape by and just make that living to keep, you know, then we had a child as well, a young baby, my little Sophie, my daughter, or one of them. So that was hard. So that was the rags. That was the rags. And you know, there's been other moments when I've had businesses and that we've done okay. So it's not a constant flow, but we're not in the rags section now. But I'm not quite sure if I'm in the riches section either. So somewhere in a medium sort of level.
And you know, for some people, rags to riches isn't about money.
No.
Okay, because I got married. An example, I got married when I was really young, and I was married to this nice lady who blessed me with three of my older children and stuff. And when we got separated and divorced, I realized something that most people don't have an opportunity to realize until after they're divorced. All my friends went away. They were common, you know, so that they don't mean to, but they pick sides. And I made a decision. That I was never ever going to abandon my friend network. So in terms of a network of people and friends and colleagues and associates and stuff, I'm wealthy. I will never, ever, you know, have to be alone again.
Yeah, that's an interesting point there, Michael, isn't it?
Okay.
What we think of as well. Because when you think about wealth anyway, money, let's put it in this context of money. There's nothing tangible about money. It's only what it buys you anyway, doesn't it? It's comfort or experiences and things you can do, really. It's nothing per se that money's got. Yeah,
you can't buy happiness.
You can't. Exactly. That was what I was coming on to next. So you've got those things, but you can't buy the next things. Yeah.
But you can rent it. You can rent happiness. Okay. So we're gonna switch. We're gonna switch gears again. Okay. And I have my magic pen. All right, and we're going to wave it and poof. Now I want you to tell your life story from a stranger in a strange land.
Stranger in strange land. Okay. Well, you know, but do we always feel that we're slightly different? That we're slightly we don't quite fit in society. How many of us look at society from our perspective, because we all filter information, don't we? You know, the reality that we experience isn't the reality, the objective reality out there. And perhaps I just feel that I don't always completely mesh with everything around me. That doesn't mean to have, I've got some great friends, wonderful connections, my good wife, daughters, everything. But there's something about the individual, I think, and I just wonder if that's ubiquitous with all of us, that we just feel a little bit.
Absolutely. Cool. All right, we're going to switch gears again, and this time I want you to tell your life story as a love story. You know, it could be Romeo and Juliet, you know, or it could be, you know, a happier ending, you know. So what's your life story as a love story?
Yeah, okay. Well, okay. Well, I'd have to go to my wife. Yeah, my wife Sharon. And we met in very stereotypical, but we met in a nightclub, the Ilford Calais, back in, oh, yeah, when we'll be looking at 84. So yeah, a lot of years ago now, 38 years ago, something like that. And yeah, and that's she's been a constant influence in my life. Sometimes, unfortunately, but mostly for the good. And yeah. And she's made me, unfortunately, the man I am today. So yeah, but you forgot it. And unfortunately, at that point, I actually lost the number. So that was the typical thing. A bit of lipstick, wasn't there? Quite a number there. But we didn't have the iPhone to put it down on then. And luckily, I bumped into her about 6 months later in a club, and a friend of mine said, "Oh, that's that lady over there." And I went over to chat, and the rest is history. Yeah.
Excuse me, I gotta go. Yes, okay. And then finally, the last one, okay? Like a good Kung Fu movie, tell me your life story about revenge.
Well, I do like some ice cream. I like a dish served cold. Yeah. Revenge. That's an interesting one, Michael, isn't it?
I'll even help you out. Okay.
Go on then, because I'm stuck on
the best revenge is to live a good life.
That's very good. Yeah, I like that. That is really good. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we're actually going places with this, guys. Thanks for watching, by the way. So one of my challenges to you is, if you've ever had that nagging feel, that feeling that there's something wrong, there's something disturbed, you feel like you're missing something, and it's in that space that's below words. My challenge to you is sit down and write down your story, dictate it, tell it to somebody, and then try on these different hats, these different archetypes. And there's lots and lots of archetypes. I just thought I'd make it simple and just use the top 5. Okay. And as much as possible, tell your story without editing. If you were a jerk like I was, I was the youngest and the only boy in my family. I was an arrogant schmuck face. Okay. After a while, the universe will humble you. Trust me. Okay. So tell your story. And then once you've told your story or written your story, I want you to ask yourself this question. What do I want instead? If I had an opportunity, grab my magic pen and to turn the page and to rewrite the rest of your story from today out into the future till time ends or you shuck this mortal coil, what do you want your story to be? Okay, and think about that. And while you're thinking about that, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. Okay, is when you review, like Tony, when you review all of those aspects, and oh, by the way, the aspect of your mom was like really interesting. Really interesting. Okay, what's important about this? What's important to you about fishing? What's important to you about helping people or evolving yourself? What's important about your relationship or your kid? I know you have kids. What's important about that? And write down what's important, because when you rewrite your story, you definitely want to have those criteria and values in place. I mean, we could get up and you and I could, you hop on a train and I hop on an airplane. We could meet in Czechoslovakia. Okay. And without rewriting our story, we would basically recreate our existence in 6 months to a year. We might have to learn Czechoslovakian, okay? But other than that, we would continue to recapitulate the life that we currently have.
Yeah, Yeah.
but we
Well,
don't necessarily have
interesting.
to.
Yeah, it's interesting what you're saying there, Michael, because I think we think we're on rails very often, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing with that. We don't realize we've got agency.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we have
have.
much more power, you know, just because of yesterday's memories. They're
Mm-hmm.
not tracks that we have to be on, are they? Literally, you know, you can, like you say, you're in the moment, we can do anything within reason.
Exactly.
Yeah, we have choice. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Now, the other thing that I'd like you to do, and I'd like you to think about this and answer the question if you can, Tony, is when you think about your life story, okay, is it win-win? Is it win-lose? Is it lose-win? Or is it lose-lose?
I think it's win-win, really.
Mm-hmm. Probably is now.
I think it is really. Yeah.
I couldn't always say that, but when I decided that I was going to rewrite me and rewrite who I am and what I do and how I do it and all that other stuff, one of the criteria that had to be present was win-win. And you and I were talking about this before the show. There's two things in my world, well, three things, but the top two is there freedom and is there fun? Okay, and if whatever it is that I'm doing or wherever it is that I am being, if fun and freedom is not being created for all people around, then it's no deal. And I think that for me, that's one of like the most important shifts that I made, was to make absolutely certain that, oh, by the way, there's other people on the planet.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, Tony, but I think it's a challenge to create a win-win.
It is. I mean, for me, I think a win-win. Don't get me wrong, there's definitely areas, if we went back to the word will, there would be areas that I could work on, definitely. But when I look at the overall scenario of happiness, social life, you know, relationships, money, but you know, but generally, I've got to say a win-win really. So yeah. I'm quite blessed. Quite blessed.
Yeah. All right, so that's kind of what I got for today. I hope that this has been thought-provoking. And Tony, I hope I haven't given you a headache from
normal, Michael.
Yeah, but you know, give this video a watch, you know, like it and share it with other people if you want, but take on this challenge, write down your life story and then ask yourself, you know, what is there anything that I would change? Is there anything that I would do differently, you know, now that I'm grown up and or theoretically grown up and, you know, and fully functional? What do I want that's different? And how do I create that in a win-win format? So thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you guys next week.